Getting to be that time.
It
Oh
is.
boy.
It is.
Finally it's the football off season. There really is no football off season, but still these past few months have been rough with no football.
It's rougher when they've done a lot to be excited about. Last year it was like, well, we'll get to see how Kenny Pickett is, and now it's great draft, pretty strong and active in free agency. So yeah, I mean, this is probably the most hype I can remember about camp and going into Latrobe in a number of years.
It's a totally different like it's crazy how what a year makes. Last year we were saying, "Ooh, I wonder if Kenny Pickett. I wonder when we knew he was going to play at some point. It's like, ooh, I wonder when's going to play. I wonder how good Mitch Trubisky will be.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it was all about the quarterbacks last year. It really
yeah."
was.
And basically it seemed like the plan was, okay, let's get Mitch ready, and then if Kenny could just do just learn on the sideline. And
Hmm. Yeah.
so this year it's totally different. We know it's going to be Kenny, and he's going to actually play with the ones and practice with them, which will be nice. It's
Yeah.
there's
What a
no
concept.
yeah.
Somehow the powers that be thought that wasn't a great idea last year, which I think was everyone says, oh, TJ Watt. Yeah, that made a difference. But when you bring in a quarterback that got no time in the preseason with the starting, offensive line, offensive weapons, that contributed to that 2-7 start or whatever it was. Just big time.
Looking back at it, that was not very smart. I mean, they get Mitch, and they acquired him. I don't know if they thought they were going to get Kenny Pickett. I'm sure they thought they were going to get some quarterback, but they didn't think they would get Kenny Pickett. And then they still say, well, let's just see how Mitch does, and Kenny will play eventually. It's like, okay, but you really did not do much service to Kenny there last year. So
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of truth to the fact. There's probably a little bit of pressure. Well, I don't even know what's pressure is as it is as much as let's figure out what the problem is because there's still some Kenny Pickett naysayers. But and you can say it's Penn Staters hating on Pitt or whatever. I think there's a little bit of that. And as a Penn State alumnus, if you're a Penn Stater, it's just hating on him because he's from Pitt. You're an idiot. I'm just gonna tell you that right now.
yeah, yeah,
He,
that's
so
talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like, oh,
right, yeah,
I love the Steelers, but I hate Kenny Pickett. It's like, well, you know what? Find another team then.
yeah.
That's
Then
just
you're
weird.
just a stupid fan. I mean, it's you know what I mean. He's a Steeler now. Pat Fryermuth's a Steeler. We all love James Conner when he was a Steeler. That stuff bothers me. But it's I think a big part of that comes down to Joe is if they succeed this year. So I think last podcast we did, we all had them at double-digit wins. If they're going to get the double-digit wins, we got or if they don't get there, they don't get to the double-digit wins. Okay, it's either maybe it is Kenny or maybe it's Matt Canada. I tend to still
Or
lean toward
injuries or something.
or
Yeah.
injuries. I still lean towards Matt Canada, but Pickett does have a decent weaponry around him. So if he were to struggle a little bit, there could be and no matter where Kenny Pickett went to college, it could have been Pitt, Penn State, it could have been Miami, whatever. He's coming on behind a Ben Roethlisberger. And I don't care what you say; those are just big shoes to fill. And especially in Pittsburgh. When you have an elite star like that, whether they're a Steeler, a Pirate, a Penguin, it's big. It's big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Yeah. When Sidney Crosby retires, whoever comes after him, no matter who it is, who's going to ever be the star, that's it's just going to be huge. You don't want to be the guy to follow the guy.
Right. Right. I mean, and you and I, but a lot of Steelers, I sad to say our age here, Joe, they don't realize what we went through after Bradshaw till we got to, Big Ben. We had some flashes, Neil O'Donnell there for a little while. Cordell Stewart probably still underappreciated to this day. But yeah, I mean, there was flashes here and there, but nothing like until we got Ben.
The period after Terry Bradshaw was when I first started following the Steelers, and it was, I mean,
Well,
I don't know. I don't know if anybody faced more hate in Pittsburgh than Cliff Stout.
Oh,
He was, my goodness. What were we doing? His
well,
crime was he wasn't he wasn't good. He wasn't good
Terry
quarterback,
Bradshaw.
and he wasn't Terry Bradshaw. My goodness. If what's that saying? If I was in a room, if I had a gun with one bullet, if I had a gun with two bullets, and Cliff Stout, Bin Laden, and Hitler were in the room, I would shoot Cliff Stout twice.
I know.
That's basically. I mean, he was such a. And then poor Mark Malone. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, yeah, and like I said, there were some flashes there, but yeah, Rick Strom. I mean, and then
Steve Bono,
you know,
David Woodley.
Yep. Who was the kid? Kent Graham. Remember Kent Graham?
Oh, Kent Graham. Yeah.
Kent Graham was our starter. Jim
Miller.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Folks, and then you had the you had but anyway, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. And I know supposedly in OTAs, Matt Canada was making changes. But what kind of changes are we going to see, Joe? And that should come out now in Latrobe. Were they just slight tweaks or were they significant changes? And honestly, I got to hope it's significant because I still feel these last 2 years, a lot of that's on Canada. I just do. You know, I mean, I think there was things that we've talked about for last year on this podcast of yours that we felt were at least even your basic knowledge of football. He could have ran better plays at better times. And just, you know, even being at a football game, whether it's on a couch or at a Steeler game, like everyone looking like, what are you doing? So that's got to go away. I really feel like that because I mean he's on a 1-year contract. You know, we talked about that in December. You know, why don't you just buy it out, bring in someone new? But apparently they're going to let it ride out.
It's excuse after excuse with Matt Canada. First it was, well, he's with Ben Roethlisberger and Ben's old and he can't really run his offense. And then last year was, well, Kenny's just a rookie and you can't run the whole offense. The excuses are over.
Yeah, remember I wrote that. No more excuses. Held that up to the camera a couple.
That's right. No more excuse. That's it. This is it, dude.
Yep.
That is, I think the two biggest questions is how is Kenny Pickett going to progress and what the heck is Matt Canada going to do? And I mean, I've heard like some really reputable people say they have serious doubts about Matt Canada, but it just might be a situation where even if you have a lousy coordinator, you got some good talent right now. You got, you know, Kenny will be better. Najee, hopefully he's healthy. He'll be better. Pickens will be better. Deontay Johnson will be fine. And now you got Allen Robinson or Calvin Austin, whoever gets there. Freiermuth will be good or better. So I mean, you have the potential for a good offense here. The offensive line got better. So you'd almost have to like be like a Ron Hextall like double agent to screw this up.
Right. And I think that you just hit on a really good key point there. It all got better. Is it superior? No, like Mason Cole, hey, he did good job last year. He started all his games. Would I put him as a top 5 center in the NFL? No. If that was one area I wish they would have addressed in the draft was a center, maybe on free agency. Because if anything happens to Cole, they're gonna be in a pickle. So, you know, but he started 17 games. He's a decent center. He's serviceable. We got the job done. That's what you needed there. You have kind of a good problem, right? You have Broderick. Do you get Broderick Jones in there? Do you rotate Dan Moore Jr. or Chucks on that side? You know, I mean, they got a tall order. Week 1, they're going against the number 1 defense in the NFL from last year that actually got better because they brought in Hargrave. So you're going against Bosa, the defensive player of the year, and you bring in Hargrave. That offensive line is going to have its hands full. So the Steelers have a big test week 1. Even though finally at home, you know, thank you, I guess, but 7 years. But they're at home, but they have it's not like they're playing, you know, the Jaguars or the Texans. They're playing the Niners.
Big test. Yeah.
Huge test.
Big,
But you're right. I
big
mean, all that
test.
stuff. Najee, good to receive. And don't forget they brought in Miles Boykin. The other kid, they got late in that round, the tight end. A lot of people could think
Washington.
he could be a dark horse, and poor Gentry might be on his way out after this year with that.
Yeah.
You got Fryermuth will be healthy. I mean, all of those things. We have a reliable field goal kicker. So that's why there's no more excuses. Everything's in place for them to be better offensively. So are they going to take the step or not? And I got to say, I'm not, unless Kenny Pickett's horrible. Let's say we get to week 8 and he's thrown 5 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Okay, he's not going good. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it comes down to Matt Canada. I do.
Yeah. It's possible he could screw this up. So we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Allen Robinson is going to do. I've always said, I've said for the past few years, get an adult in the room. Not that there's anything wrong with, having young guys at wide receiver, but still have a veteran presence in there. I think helps a lot. And from what I've heard, he's just a great pro, and they're not asking much of him. He's basically going to be the slot guy. So I think this is going to work really well.
And Pickett needs a slot guy, and he doesn't need a slot guy that's going to go and get the first down and put the ball on the ground and be going like this. And when the clock's running, and I mean, total moron.
Oh God.
But good luck, Bears. But I mean, really, I think we got Allen Robinson. No, you're right. And Kenny needs a slot guy, so that helps out. He's a sound mind and body. He's a smart football player. He's actually still 29. So I mean, our offensive line, or our offense is very, very young, Joe.
Very young, yeah.
Hey, are we going to the Super Bowl this year? Probably not. But boy, if they can make some strides, 2025 might be a really fun year. But they got to build on it this year.
Maybe 2024. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Right.
I like where they're heading. I like getting Broderick Jones, that Isaac Seumalo at left guard. That should help. Got a lot of depth in case anybody does go down. That's nice. So another person that's having big questions this year is Najee Harris. He's almost like in Matt Canada territory. It's like, okay, the first year, well, okay, you had a horrible offensive line. Okay, second year, okay, you're hurt. It's like, bro, you gotta put up or shut up. Not that he's bad, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think a lot of us have seen flashes of what he can do when he's on. So now they've upped the offensive line. I think he could have a big year, and I think he does. You're right. I think he has to have a big year, and that's just going to be all the more to balance out that offense. But because running backs aren't getting a lot of love right now, Saquon Barkley is not getting a lot of love. They're just not getting valued like they were. I mean, Jerome Bettis went off on it today on ESPN about it. With Chris Mortensen. I think it was Mortensen, but they just, kind of getting disrespected. So, Najee needs to have a big year. I think catching it out of the backfield too, which is part of the Matt Canada offense. He's kind of a running back that you want to see do that. Can he make progress? Can he step up? Because he needs to step up a little bit too, take the pressure off Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. And it sounds like they're going to try to do like a run heavy offense, which is fine. So it's right there. It's right there, dude. Right there. It's just,
when you think back to that Ravens game last year, we're 7-9 going into that game. And he kind of took over that second half. And then that pass from Kenny Pickett to him, that was beautiful. You can't tell me Kenny Pickett's not a good quarterback. That was a hard pass to make, and he made it right to Najee, and Najee kind of took over that game in the second half in particular. So it's there. It is definitely there.
Yeah. And who knows what Jaylen Warren's going to do? I mean, he, great rookie year, who he might take a step up too. So that might be really interesting. I know in fantasy football, people are down on Najee basically because they think Warren is it's almost going to be like a 50-50 split or something like that. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I mean, everyone talks about that now. You know, when you look at one of the big things about the Atlanta Falcons is they have like a three-headed monster at running back, and like each guy might get 7 touchdowns this year,
yeah,
and but that's the way the NFL, we've kind of joked about that on here before. And I can go back and look for my league in like, say, 2005 when we drafted. And I think one quarterback in the first 12 picks, all 11 picks running back. And that was from like '05 to, maybe '09. And then all of a sudden it started to shift. So it's been a big paradigm shift in the NFL. And you say, well, it's fantasy football. Okay, it's fantasy football, but fantasy football is really a direct, you know, descendant of what's actually going on in the real league. Now you look at our drafts, Joe, at least in my league, it's receiver, maybe a running back,
yep.
quarterback, maybe 1 or 2 running backs, maybe.
It used to be like the first 10 picks were running backs.
Maybe even more.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe more. And now it's like, I think I saw like maybe 2 or 3 in the top 10 or top 12 or something like that. Like, right. Yeah, times have changed. Big
they really
time.
have. They really have. So, but it's still, even despite that, I think if Najee can have a solid year, Warren can have a solid year. You figure if Najee gets around 9 or 10 touchdowns and Warren gets 4 or 5, that's what you need.
That's fine. That's
yeah.
fine. Yeah. I would be very happy with a 2-headed monster. I think that would be just fine. I'm also interested to see how they're going to use Connor Hayward. Running back, tight end, H-back, fullback, little all the above. I don't know how he's going to be deployed. That might be interesting to see how that ends up.
It really is. And I think a lot of us want to see him succeed based on how much his city's embraced his brother and how much his brothers embraced this city. So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely one to watch. See if he can make some noise in camp and see what we can see out of him. But the talent level's there. And I know for a fact, won't say how, that he's been practicing with him. I got a chance to talk to him for a little while last week at an undisclosed location where he was practicing with his brother. And he's just as nice as his brother. Really good guy. And I think Steeler Nation are really going to be happy about this kid.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I just saw Cam Hayward had his celebrity softball thing. And it's just really cute how he is with his brother. And I mean, Cam Hayward is, God, it's been, what's this, his 13th year, 12th year. You wonder how long he's going to keep going, and he's still playing at a high level, but I wonder if he just wants to keep him going longer just so he can keep playing with his brother, because that's so cool that they get to play with each other.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to be interesting. And in some of these rookies that they drafted, I think a lot of these rookies, I mean, we're not going to see them start, but I think they're going to make some impact. And you have some guys you brought in, Cole Holcomb and Ellendon Roberts from the Dolphins. Holcomb's coming in injured, which was the concern. He only played 7 games last year for the Commanders. Look at me going Redskins, Joe. For the Commanders. And from what they're saying, he's far from game ready. So, they don't have a lot of depth behind those two. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play. Roberts could get some significant time in Latrobe and maybe even in preseason before they feel Holcomb's ready. And he might be able to, he had 107 tackles last year, career year for him. So, I don't think there's a lot of expectations because of the Holcomb thing. But he might come in and really surprise a lot of people there. So I think that's one battle, if you want to call it a battle, that's one position I'll be watching, see what they do with that defensively.
Yeah. Yeah. Inside linebacker is one of the biggest question marks. Mm-hmm. They replaced both inside linebackers. Nobody knows how it's going to be. And hopefully they just change their philosophy from the Ryan Shazier, the inside linebacker that has to do everything and run the whole thing to hopefully that they've changed their philosophy, because you just can't find, elite inside linebackers. There's only a few in the whole league. So you gotta shift. And I think they have, hopefully Holcomb is okay, because I think they're going to depend on him a lot. Roberts, not so much. I think he's the secondary one, but I think they expect a lot of things from Holcomb. So hopefully he does well. But if not, there's also that Mark Robinson, who it'll be his second year. So
yep. It's always fun, and I guess this is probably true in most NFL cities, but it always seems like with the Steelers, there's somebody that comes out of nowhere. And what if Pittsburgh Yinzers love anything, they love an underdog. So it'd be interesting to see who that guy might be this year, coming out of camp, and it could be Roberts. He's going to have a chance. I think you're right. I think the initial thing is Holcomb's going to be our guy. But it's just interesting, and I'm kind of always intrigued to see who that guy might be.
Yeah. We fall in love with somebody, and a few years ago it was what's his name, the quarterback that was like a rocket scientist. I forget his name.
Oh yes.
I think he's with I think he was with Cleveland.
Right.
And then it was Duck Hodges, and and then it was someone else. There's always someone.
I remember when it was Eric Green, and then Eric Green became a legitimate player in the NFL for a number of years, and so I mean it's like I said, it's not every year, but just about every year there's always somebody. And boy, Yinzer fans just hitch their start to him like, oh, you got to play him more. And so that could be interesting to see too. And, but we got a lot of good free agents in the cornerback position. You see if Levi Wallace comes out and what's he going to do? Is Joey Porter Jr., that's kind of all eyes will be on him.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson. There's just I'm saying, we said at the top of the show here, there's so much to watch and to be excited about. So it's just like, wow, how's he going to do? How's he going to do it? I think the Pittsburgh media is going to be pretty busy with reporting out on a lot of different players.
Yeah. I know. I always go out like once or twice to Latrobe. I love going out there. Patrick Peterson. By the way, we acquired basically a future Hall of Famer. That's.
Yeah, by the way,
amazing. By the way, BT Dubs, we gotta. This guy's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's possible it could be a disaster, but I highly doubt it. He seems like he has a great attitude about it.
He wanted, and again, we talk about this a lot. And in fact, we were talking before we started the podcast. I'm in Iowa this week. I swear, like out of the last 5 times we've done this show, I was in Miami, Memphis, Iowa. And I was just in this room full of sports guys today. It's, the business I work in, and there's nobody else from Pennsylvania, right? They all love Mike Tomlin. I mean, they make a point to say to me, man, you got the greatest coach. And it's so funny to me, the dichotomy of that, because you go into Allegheny County and anywhere, and it's like, wow.
It's like 50-50 and they want him fired. And
they said, well, Patrick Peterson wanted to play for Mike Tomlin. He couldn't resist passing that up. So it's players, it's everybody outside of the Pennsylvania and probably West Virginia line who just love Mike Tomlin. So it always kind of makes me smile.
And it's always funny. You tell those people, it's like, believe it or not, in Pittsburgh, he's not that popular. They're like, what? Are you nuts? Like, it's true. Exactly
what I got this week, Monday and Tuesday. Like, how could you guys not like him? Like, well, he's only had 3 playoff wins in 12 years, and they've missed the playoffs 3 out of the last 5. I know, never a losing season, but and I know one thing that's a fact, whether you like it or not, Steeler Nation, is if the Steelers were to part ways with him, say next year, and I don't think they will, he would be signed the next day. Somebody would pick him up without question. And then how would this city react if, like, say he goes to Detroit, an example, a young and upcoming team? I don't know if they're as good as everybody thinks they are.
Cleveland or something. Yeah. Right. What if he goes somewhere and like wins a championship or something like that right away? We would lose our minds. We
would lose our minds. So, it's a fine line, but it is funny. Like, there's a guy here from Vegas, a couple guys from Texas. These are Cowboys fans. You got the best coach. I wish we had Mike Tomlin. If we had Mike Tomlin, we win a Super Bowl. We're in a Super Bowl now. They may be right. I don't know. It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
But they adore him. He is well adored.
It is that, yeah, I've heard the same thing from anybody outside Pittsburgh. They're like, my God, you have the best coach. He is so awesome. Like, yeah.
Yep.
And yet, and hey, I get it. I get, the people that don't like him because you they think we're settling for mediocrity. Like we like being 9-8 and having that non-losing streak. It's like, no, he doesn't like it. Nobody likes it, but those are the circumstances. But there were a couple of those years, like the year Ben got hurt, the entire season. That was just a masterful coaching job by Tomlin to get them above 500.
Oh yeah.
Last year was a pretty good coaching job considering you had what you had with the offense, and Mitch Trubisky sucking, and Kenny Pickett a rookie, and and Matt freaking Canada and all this stuff, and still them getting over 500. That was impressive too. So yeah, he is a great coach. But yeah, some people don't like that. It's like, nobody's happy with 9-8. Trust me. Nobody.
No, and then you had oh my gosh, why am I having a bad time with names? Shouldn't be doing this. The offensive lineman, it was the veteran from the Army.
Villanueva
went on that Pat McAfee last week and was saying that he feels like Mike Tomlin is wasting his time as a football coach. He could be a senator, whatever, in charge of FEMA or something like that.
Right. He's
like
wasting his time.
And there may be some truth to that. I mean, he is well loved. I mean, he doesn't open up, but they ran a bio on him on ESPN last year before the season started about all this work he does in Africa. And he's a beautiful person, a wonderful person. And but in Yinzer, us Yinzers, we also part of us like, well, yeah, I want a Super Bowl. We haven't been to a Super Bowl. The Super Bowl you won was with Cowher's players. There's some validity to that. But then I think, again, it's a fine line to walk.
It's funny that the criticism is he's only been in 2 Super Bowls in the last 13 years. How many teams have been in 2 Super Bowls in the last 13 years? There's a very small number that have been in multiple Super Bowls, and a lot that have been in 0 Super Bowls. But that's he's only been in 2 Super Bowls. What? Oh yeah. Wow.
The one guy was from this week in my session series from Chicago. He goes, I will give you my firstbborn child if we get a Mike coaching there. He goes, and I'm dead serious. I'll sign your contract with you right now. It's like, oh, it's and it is. I mean, we are fortunate. I mean, Chicago fans are passionate, where the Bears haven't given them much in a long time. They had that one flash in the pan where they got their asses smacked by the Colts in that Super Bowl, and that was just pretty bad. Yeah. And that's all they've had to hang their hat on since Super Bowl 20, and yeah, so you do realize when you're at where I'm at this week in a room full of sports guys who are passionate about their NFL teams, that even though we haven't had the greatest playoff run or record in the last couple of years, we're still been pretty fortunate, and there's a lot of people are envious of us. So
yeah. Another thing about Mike Tomlin is apparently he's just a great boss. Apparently what he does is he's always communicating with people, and he tells you exactly what he expects and and where you're at. I wish I had a boss like that. We all do. We all wish we had. A lot of times your boss ain't that great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. Everybody seems to love playing for him. So yeah, I mean, even with Devin Bush, there wasn't a lot of it didn't seem like they get along, but didn't get real public. I mean, he didn't come out and said he hated Mike Tomlin or anything. He kind of went his way. He didn't end up being probably one of the GM and Mike Tomlin's worst draft picks over the last couple of years, but still it seems to be like Teflon a little bit, like I don't know. So yeah, but that's why there's definitely no more excuses for Canada. What we said earlier in the show here, but there's also not a lot of excuses for Tomlin too. I hate to say that, and we just got done talking about how fortunate we are, but you're starting to build a younger team again. So all that stuff when you had Ben and AB, despite him being a psycho, and Le'Veon Bell in all their prime, not being able to win big one. Well, you could possibly have another run getting set up for that with Kenny and Najee Harris, And, Pickens, I mean, who knows? I don't want to get that far ahead of us yet. But that's what I'm saying, Joe. If they have a solid year, let's say a solid year to me this year would be maybe getting the AFC conference game or maybe, a semifinal game. Let's say we lose to the Chiefs in overtime. Chiefs go on and do what they do. But boy, that makes next year a lot more fun. But that's where I think they need to be for me to get really excited about next year.
Let's say like 10-7 and win a playoff game. I think that would be a huge success of a season.
I think most of us would be okay with that. A lot of the experts have us 9-8 or 8-9. A few people a little bit higher than that. We had a little bit higher than that. All of us had them in double digits, I think in the teens for some of us. But yeah, that would be great.
It is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen this in my life, that in Pittsburgh, there's general optimism and they think like us, like, oh, we can win 10 games, maybe 11, maybe I've even heard 12. Maybe we could go 12-5 or something like that. But outside Pittsburgh, last in the AFC North. Oh my God, look how good Baltimore is in Cincinnati and Cleveland. Oh my God, there's no way that Pittsburgh will be good. Look, Pittsburgh's going to suck this year because they don't know. They look at Kenny Pickett and say, well, he sucks. Look at his number. Blah. They it's like, oh, who'd you get? Isaac Seumalo, who's that? So it's like they look at this whole thing and just think, oh, they're gonna stink. Like it's so crazy the difference between inside Pittsburgh and outside Pittsburgh of how they're gonna do this year.
Yeah, that's true. And I, they had that the other day with the forecast there from Yahoo and average, they pulled from like 9 or 10 media sources across the country. Kenny Pickett's average quarterback ranking is 20th, from pulling all those things. I think the highest magazine had him ranked 17th, but everybody had him between 17 and 20. I think a lot of us feel he's better than that. I do. And again, is this the year he's going to show it, or is Matt Canada going to be the reason he doesn't show it? And that's the thing. That's what we're going to see week to week. It just that's what it's going to come down to. And I think you made a great point with Najee Harris. He needs to step up having a solid year this year too. That's on him, because I think Matt Canada is going to give him the chances. I really do. And that one you can't blame on Canada. If he's getting 20 touches a game or 18 touches a game, he better be making the best of those 18 to 20.
This is it. Yeah, like we said, no more excuses for Matt Canada, no more excuses for Najee Harris, provided he's healthy. This is it, because he got it. Well, he's in year 3 or 4?
3.
He was drafted in 21, so this is his third year.
Yeah,
so yeah, it's time to, and yes, it does suck being a running back right now. It's just such a horrible system. You get drafted, if you're drafted in the first round as a running back, you're there for 4 years, then that 5th-year option. So first 5 years, you're with the same team. Then if they decide to do the franchise tag, that's only 10 million. That's pretty reasonable. So that's your 6th year. You get your first 6 years of the league. The average player it's like 3-4 years, something like that. So it's a lousy system. And by the time you get to be, a free agent, age 26, 27, whatever, you're quote unquote over the hill. You're used up and they throw you away. It's a terrible system.
It is. It is. But, again, like I said, it's the touches that they've got to get. And can you do the most with what touches you do have? Because, hey, you got the Bengals in this division and the Ravens, and you and I both, I think, agree that we think the Ravens are a little overrated. I don't see them being the division favorite like everybody else does. But they can open up the offense, and the Bengals sure as hell can open up the offense. And I think that's what a lot of us want to see. I mean, we don't need to see Pickett chucking it 60 yards down the field every play, but open it up for the love of God and get some passes over 15 yards. And that's where you're going to have a lot of help there in the slot. They had no help really in the slot. And we forget the kid, and I forget his name every time. The kid from Memphis that we drafted 2 years ago, who got injured in training camp, and we never got
Calvin
to see
Austin.
him. Yeah, he was drafted for really 2 specific reasons: tremendous speed and tremendous ability to do things after the touch of the ball. He could be another guy that we finally get to see what he can do. And I think Matt Canada, that was not his fault. But that was a guy that I think Matt Canada was really hoping he was going to get a lot of playing time and a lot of sites, because if he can do what he did when he was at Memphis, my God. So that's another guy. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what he could do. Hey, maybe he could be like our Tyreek Hill or something like that. I don't know. I mean, he's he's blazing speed. You can't teach that. So
no, he has not a chance. Yeah. Every time you remember that, I swear to God, I'm going to buy a Calvin Austin jersey until we do the next podcast so I can know his name. Jeez.
Or hold up a sign or something like that. Or,
yeah, you got it down pat. It's like every time the kid from Memphis, that his name, he has a name.
Oh, I forget so many names. I can't talk.
Right. But yeah, no, it's so there's a lot of stuff, and that's why I mean from Calvin Austin, Najee Harris to Warren to this offensive line thing going on the right hand side and the left hand side. There are so many storylines going into it. It's just going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's finally here. We're a week away. It's
Yep.
finally here. We could stop talking about it because now everybody thinks that they're going to be awesome. You know, there are no draft busts. There are no injuries. Every team is going to be awesome. So we're finally going to get down to, you know, actually what's going to happen. And then we're finally going to get down to some preseason games. I guess they still do those. And then, you know, so yeah, we're finally instead of just talking about it, actually talking about things that actually are going to happen instead of theoretical stuff.
Right. Yep. For sure.
Awesome.
It's going to be a fun podcast here in a few weeks after we get into this and see how these storylines have all started to develop.
Oh yeah. Yes, it will. All right. Well, good to talk to you again.
Thanks, Joe. Good to talk to you.
All right. I'll see you.
See you, buddy.